Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. In 2011, government leaders and civil society advocates came together to create a unique partnership, one that combines its powerful forces to promote transparency, inclusive and accountable governance. 78 countries and 76 local governments representing more than 2 billion people, along with thousands of civil society organizations are members of the Open Government Partnership, OGP. Nigeria, being a member of OGP, has been faced with the challenge of effectively utilizing its resources to support equitable economic growth, effective service delivery, and social cohesion. Some of the major driving forces for the development blockade are the lack of openness, transparency, and accountability in governance. The Open Government Partnership was launched in Nigeria as a move by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration to join other nations in providing a platform for domestic reformers to make their respective governments more open, accountable, and responsive, to citizens' needs. As world leaders and development partners commemorate the Open Government Partnership Week from May 17 to the 21st of 2021, the Osasu Show investigates ways in which the Office of the Citizens, which we all know is the most important office, can institutionalize open government reforms. On today's episode of the show, we speak with a key custodian of accountability and governance, a parliamentarian and member representing Kababunu Ijumu Federal Constituency in the 9th National Assembly, Honorable Yusuf Ayo Tajuddin. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very intellectually stimulating episode. North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Honorable TJ, thank you again for being here.
Pleasure is mine.
All right. So as a parliamentarian, you are one of the key custodians of entrenching transparency and accountability in governance. As a matter of fact, most learned Nigerians will place the onus and the buck on the table of the parliament to ensure that you are running a more transparent and accountable government. What has the 9th National Assembly, specifically the House of Representatives, done to promote an open and transparent government in Nigeria?
The 9th Assembly, just like the previous Assembly, emphasized through the legislative agenda the need to take oversight responsibility more important and to commit ourselves into doing what the Constitution mandates us to do. That is, it's our responsibility by the Constitution to expose leakages, wastage, and what have you. And one of the major focus of open governance is to see that government business is done in a transparent manner that people, the citizens, will have value for the money. So, as a 9th Assembly, the leadership has tried to create more robust engagement. However, I must be sincere with you, just like the previous Assembly, the Nigerian executive, the mindset is still that, hey, who are you to question me? And the fact that the parliament is a bit deficient in integrity, because perception is reality. Nigerians, either rightly or wrongly, perceive the parliament negatively. So by implication, when you do not come with reasonable credit, integrity, it limits your ability to check. So you find the situation where some MDs or individuals might not even show up. Two, the ethnocentric nature of our politics, the divide religion and what have you. Remember there was a time some members, the House resolved to invite the president, not some members. And some they felt it was, hey, how dare you invite the almighty president? In other climes, when those values are really entrenched, the president is conscious of the fact that no, the parliament, because the crafter of the constitution deliberately made the parliament number one, because it's supposed to be grand norm, it ought to be foundation of every democratic principle. So we are not there yet. I must not sit here and pretend to you and tell the viewers that we are not there yet.
I appreciate the honesty.
However, I tell people that no matter how bad we are, it is better to have a faulty democratic process than a dictatorship. Unfortunately, we still have some of us who do in democratic setting, but still have those values and culture of despotic regime. So, and naturally, I tell people again that naturally an African man naturally is not a democratic person. So we grow. The Oyo Empire had some cultural democracy, Oyo Mercy to check the king or whatever. But in general, so it's a thing that we must allow to evolve. The American democracy evolved over time, so we must allow it to evolve. Unfortunately, one wrong example can truncate achievement of 100 years. This present government is drawing us back.
So I said I appreciate the honesty because it honestly is a breath of fresh air hearing a parliamentarian speaking truth to millions of Nigerians watching from all over, saying that there is a deficiency in integrity in Parliament across both chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So it would be fair to me to conclude that there isn't much being done as currently, constituted in the House of Representatives and in the Senate to promote transparency, across board.
Let me clarify this. I say there's deficiency. That does not mean there are no genuine committed efforts. However, the fact that you already have a perception, like I said, rightly or wrongly, a lot of what we do justify those tendencies. But there are a lot of those who do the right thing that we are not recording. So,
like what? Because I want to know what these committed efforts are. What is Parliament doing as of today to promote transparency and accountability in governance?
The fundamental responsibility of Parliament is oversight.
How is the Parliament?
That is, and any Parliament, for a Parliament to exist, there must be that responsibility of oversighting. Oh, every year there's an annual ritual. You bring a budget to the Parliament. I want to do so. Committee are set up deliberately to look into, are you doing it? And we have what you call budget assessment before you do the next budget. But we are not being efficient enough. And I gave both the challenges on our side, those deficiencies that are real and unreal. There are certain things that the society assumes in the Parliament that are not real. And there are certain things that we do to give, strength to those perceptions. And I said, we have an executive. See, no parliament in the world optimizes capacity by being dictated to. The moment you lose that capacity to some extent, determine what happened in the parliament, the moment you lose that capacity, then you are really, really in for a very inefficient, slow parliamentary process. So the parliament is deliberately, those who craft the constitution, is an atmosphere where ideas cross-pollinate, where you can speak, no matter how stupid what you're saying is, you ventilate your opinion, we will now aggregate, if it is stupid opinion, aggregate the stupid opinion, it becomes the opinion of the parliament. But when you are stiffened, when we are hindered by our perception, it's my party, it's not my party, it's my religion, not my religion, it's by this, so it limits. And what I'm saying is that it is not just the parliament, it's a reflection of society. The parliamentarians did not drop from heaven or from Ghana. They are Nigerians. So we're a microcosm of the macro nature of our society. So, but as leaders, it's our responsibility to evolve in a manner that will give signal to the citizens that, no, we must move above this.
Awesome. So how do we go about evolving? Because as of today, Honorable, Parliament has failed us. Parliament has failed Nigerians, both the Senate, the House of Representatives, and even in some cases, the ones that are closest, the parliamentarians that are closest to the grassroots, the House of Assembly. They are failing till today. They're being dictated to, as you have quite clearly elucidated. The Parliament is meant to be an independent arm of government without influence and dictatorship from the executive arm or even the judiciary. So how then do we go about evolving past our tribal, our ethnic, our religious sentiments and get parliamentarians to truly be representatives of the people? Because as of today, when we look at the many situations that we're facing as a people, the insecurity, the unemployment, the failed state that we call a nation today, Nigeria, we have to blame you, the parliamentarians, because you have failed in your responsibility to be the voice of the people. Nigeria finds itself in such a distraught stage. So how do we evolve to be a true parliament that will be reflective of the people?
Garbage in, garbage out. How do we become a parliamentarian? By being elected by the people. The people are entrusted. So what's the process? I must make you understand that the failure of the parliament is a reflection of the failure of Nigerian citizens as a nation. What's the process? How do men of honor and integrity come out to run an election and the system and the citizens stand behind them? Can the parliament take a progressive position today? And when they are attempted by the government to bully, is supported by the citizens until we get to that level. That's why I say it must be a collective effort. There must be more sensitization. We must invest in educating our people. The principle of democracy must be entrenched in a manner that, hey, it's not about being your brother, being your sister. Can he deliver the job? What is his pedigree? When I'm running an election, you should check my yesterday. What I'm saying now, is it in sync with my character, my behavior yesterday? Or is it because I suit the political leader or the godfatherism that is operating in their environment? You impose the wrong person to lead you, and you expect a different result. So, in as much the parliament has its own issue, the Nigerian citizens, the Nigerian people must rise beyond talking. Yes, the NSAS youth came up with NSAS for the first time. But can I tell you something? I'm a product of such agitation. I was a student union leader. And at that time, we had systems that work without focusing on benefit. The major reason why we're where we are now is that our value system has dropped so much. Nobody is interested in how you got it. Can you drive a Lamborghini? Can you drive this? It used to be that in society, in communities, you can't be a chief without your background being checked. So are we doing the same thing now? So in as much as the parliament has its own problem, what about the society?
There are so many key points that you've raised, and I just want to delve right into it. But we have to take a commercial break. When we return, Honorable TJ, we will be delving into some of these key points. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
You won't go shake your body. Instead, they make it calm down. Eat the farm, say it's happy. You want to grow 6 packs in a day. I beg you, no do pass your power. You want to show yourself, oh.
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back to the Osasu Show. We're still with Honorable TJ Yusuf. We're talking about the role of Parliament in promoting good governance, transparency, and accountability. Honorable TJ, before we went on break, you brought up some very key points. There is a general misconception about parliamentarians that sometimes I sort of sympathize with you guys on the fact that most people think your government to implement some of these projects, line itemed in the budget is completely ludicrous, and it shouldn't be so. However, your key role to perform oversight, you talked about some of the hindrances that you faced as a parliamentarian, appropriating setting figures to setting projects that may influence, your constituency in terms of infrastructural development. However, these sums are not released at the end of the day, so nothing ends up being done. So what can the parliament do in changing that? Because when I hear parliamentarians complain, I sort of, chuckle a little, because you wield the most powerful weapon, or you should wield the most powerful weapon to change things. So how is the parliament going to truly function in its power and in its authority, to change the system? Because I tell people all the time, it's not about, Nigeria's issues is not about one individual. It's about a system that doesn't function the way it should. So we have a systemic problem in Nigeria, and you sit in the most sensitive position to change that system. So what is Parliament doing in terms of changing the constitution to work for all Nigerians, irrespective of tribe, yada, 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 religion, and all of that? And also to ensure that we build a system that works, a system that checkmates corruption when it's time, a system that ensures that we are not over-borrowing just because the president is in power and his party constitute the majority of those in Parliament and they're accepting ridiculous loans at ridiculous rates. So what are we doing to build a parliament that truly knows its power and checkmates the excesses of government and also promotes transparency and openness?
I think there is need to teach ethics and value from primary school. There are certain values, if we call it indoctrination, that need to start fast. I fear that if we continue this way, we might not have a nation again. What you have are pockets of areas and regime cleavages being controlled by people and whatever, because people always run to where they can have a sense of security. So if a TJ Yusuf is a cheap dump in an area, it becomes the Lord. Because the Constitution, how do you amend it? No matter how, if we're able to galvanize ourselves to do a fantastic job, it goes to the state assemblies. Two-thirds must agree. Even when we wanted to give them state assembly, first line charge, they voted against it. It took about 4-5 years of bringing it back several times for it to work. How about the local government system? How about the judiciary? If after it is signed, some states chose not to implement it. Where are we getting the example from? From the federal government that blatantly refused to obey rules. So you now have a parliament that is a product of this system, who rather than seeing the rules and the laws, see the body language of the leader. It's talking of borrowing. Borrowing that is not tied to specific projects that impact on the citizens and the nation should not be considered. I questioned the last borrowing, about the two borrowing, maybe last before the one, where NTA was to get $500 million. So what is NTA doing with $500 million? Hey, get people to think out of the box and get NTA working. If you cannot compete effectively, quit. What do you put $500 million to when education is suffering? When we have nobody, no child in Nigeria goes to any public school and come out in 4 years. And we invest in such a amount, misplaced priority. So what am I saying? The parliament has its role. But how do you constitute the parliament? They are a product of political parties, a product of election that is not truly a reflection of the yearnings of the people. And when it's true, when it's even the yearnings of the people, or the people really are misinformed. I come to the Electoral Act. I came into politics 2011. Before I came to 2011, there will be elections. There had not been any election without rejigging the Electoral Act. After every election, you look at the loopholes and the tendencies that you feel are not in consonant with modern practice. You should improve on it. Since this government came, we've not been able to do. Because the focus is not the Nigeria we picture in dream. The picture is, how can I be in power? How can I sustain myself? If these limitations will enhance my victory, why will I correct it? That is what we're facing. So because these things we're talking about, the parliament working, if we do not cure the fundamentals, if we don't cure the process that where people, leadership recruitment process, there is another climb. Not that these things, tendencies are not a human being to misbehave, but the system makes it impossible for you to get in. You can't get in, you be screened out. But when anybody can just say mad and be anything in Nigeria and what have you, and we're complaining of the where did we do at the foundation? That's why I keep telling people that, hey, the idea, I was there a few months ago, I felt like quitting. But the idea of quitting, we are giving strength to those negative tendencies. Because when you see result, it's a cumulative effect of every effort. I'm not producing result. But when you go halfway, as I say that quitters don't win, and winners don't quit. So I want to use this platform to say, yes, there are plethora of things that are frustrating and worth in Nigeria, but there are still one or two persons who are committed to good things. We must encourage ourselves that where we are now is not where we should be. And that, I'm sorry, I keep hitting on this present government because there was so much hope. So much was promised. I was announced Secgen 1994. Nigerian students, and I'm privileged to read a lot of announced stories in the archive. I knew that this man cannot produce what he says. But unfortunately, that was what Nigerians wanted. Unfortunately, we don't have a parliament that will do what you say, that will put the president in check. Because those who did try the late assembly were cow. In fact, everything negative about 2015 and 2019 was ascribed to Dogara and Bukola's leadership. That the way they slowed down this, and now you have the parliament you want. I mean, anything they bring before the parliament goes. Do you have the result? The essence of those who crafted the constitution of the parliament is to say, hey, you are not a law to yourself. Any human being that does not want to be corrected is naturally headed to doom, because there's something inherent in a man that want to do things in his own way. That doesn't mean you're always right. There must be a check. That is why even parliament or democracy subscribe to the idea of election every 4 years. So as you won't be absolute in your mind, you should know that there's a 4 years where you account. So you now have a regime, or a regime does not think that such will be questioned. And unfortunately, we have majority in the parliament. It is a game of number. And unfortunately, some of us too are supposed to be in opposition, and we are not in opposition. We are busy clapping and doing, hey, the sira. So until this, what do I get? Until this idea of thinking about deals, thinking in deals rather than thinking of the common good, it's not possible for a pipe that water goes through to be dry. If you make yourself a conduit pipe, you'll be blessed. But this idea of grab, what have you, those are the challenges we have in every structure.
Honorable TJ, let's put a pin in it for this week, but for next week, we will be continuing this conversation with Honorable TJ Yusuf, member of the House of Representatives in the 9th Assembly. We'll be talking about the system issues. We see how he was very adamant in talking about the system. That brings forth these parliamentarians, but I decided to focus more on the failure of Parliament for this episode. For next episode, we'll be talking about the system and how we can go about fixing it holistically. So do follow us on social media at TOS TV Network, at The Osasu Show, at Osasu Ignatian, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. To read news on sustainable development and watch all our other shows on TOS TV Network, you could visit our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. Don't forget, now you can engage directly with me on my number 0702 500 6342. Text me, let me hear your ideas. How do you believe we can come up with more homegrown policies and solutions that will solve some of the issues that you're facing at the grassroots levels? We'll be having these discussions and these solutions that you profile with parliamentarians such as Honorable TJ and others, in the 9th Assembly and more. So watch all our shows, follow us on social media. Until then, keep practicing social distancing, washing your hands, and wearing your face mask. I'll see you next week when we wrap up this conversation. Take care.